Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I finally sat down and watched this really messy, terrible adaptation of the second Mummy book from the old 90s classic Goosebumps R.L. Stine books. Yeah, this episode is called Return of the Mummy. I have it on DVD here. I have two copies of this, one in a 3-pack with a 3 other discs thing, and then you have this. And, there's some good things in this episode. There really is. I will give it the benefit of the doubt. It is not close to being the worst Goosebumps episode by far. I love Goosebumps to death. My whole channel is based around it, of course. But this is a really rough episode. It could have been great. It has some really great things in it, and then it has some horrible things in it. And this is going to be a pretty long ramble about this episode, so be prepared for that. I hope it's what you've been waiting for, because people have heard me make little gestures and comments here and there, my hints about what I feel towards this episode. I saw it one time, many years ago, and I have not liked this episode since, but it has its better moments watching it this time, I will say. I was prepared more for some of the horrible things that have stuck with me over the time since I saw it. It's episode 1, season 1, episode 9, excuse me. December 22nd, 1995 is when this episode premiered. And essentially, for anybody who doesn't know the story, a boy named Gabe goes to visit his Uncle Ben and his cousin Sari, or Sari as she's called here. I don't know if that's the official pronunciation of that name, but I always call her Sari in my reviews for the first 2 books I did. There is no episode adaptation for the first book. It's only the second book, Return of the Mummy, so that's where we're at right now. Gabe goes on a vacation to visit his Uncle Ben and his cousin Sari, and they happen to be in ancient Egypt. Not in ancient Egypt, but they're in Egypt in general. And the uncle is an explorer inside of pyramids and whatnot for the ancient Egyptian culture. And he has some really cool things that he does for a living. And Gabe gets to go and experience some of the stuff. And then we bump into our first problem. As soon as this episode opens up and I see a still frame of nighttime Egypt pyramids and stuff, and it zooms in on that still image, I knew there was so much stuff I've learned about filmmaking since I've seen this episode for the first time, that when I saw that, I cringed. I really genuinely cringed. It's one of those things that stands out to me so much in movies now if I see a still image get zoomed in on, because they think that that's supposed to be good for setting a setting, but it's not. It's really not. This is one of the higher budget episodes of Goosebumps, I would argue, because it looks fantastic for the most part, and the mummy himself that does show up at one point, Prince Carew, looks amazing. One of the best mummy costumes I've ever seen on film. I wonder if it's the same mummy costume from Don't Wake Mummy, which is also on this DVD pack, but is also one of the future Goosebumps episodes based on a short story from the Tales to Give You Goosebumps books. I love Don't Wake Mummy. It's easily the best of the mummy episodes from this old show. But this one has really high production value. And it essentially almost entirely takes place inside of a pyramid. And that's cool. I love ancient Egypt stuff because of the Universal Mummy films. I really do. And this one sticks to me because of that, in some ways. There's a lot of issues here. Immediately, Gabe and the girl playing Sari are horrible. I mean, they are horrible. And the more that I looked on IMDb and whatnot before I recorded this video, the more I was even more surprised by who these two are. They both are well known by many of us who love this channel. For example, the kid playing Gabe, I'm going to use his name because he deserves it, Daniel DeSanto, is in Phantom of the Megaplex, which is one of my favorite Disney kids films. It's a scary movie. I was creeped out by it when I saw it when I was a kid, and it still holds up in a lot of ways, in my opinion. I think it came out in the year 2000, and it was fantastic. He was also in the first Harry Potter film, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, here in America, and I love that first film. It's probably my favorite of all the Harry Potter films. And let's see, he was in something else, but I don't care. I don't care. The girl playing Sari, Anik Bonsawin. I don't know how to say her name. She is on Cyber Chase, which really surprised me. I like Cyber Chase. My fiance showed that to me many times ago. Many years ago, that's what I meant. Many times ago. She is also the person who played Slappy in Not a Living Dummy 3, and I thought, at first I was confused. No, apparently she is that one frame you get every once in a while of a person walking around in a Slappy costume with a Slappy mask on. That's apparently her, I'm assuming. I always thought it was a midget. I guess not. I guess it's really just a little girl playing Slappy, my favorite episode of Goosebumps ever. Slappy is a girl on the inside. It's very weird, very confusing, very uncomfortable. I'm gonna act like it didn't happen. But she's horrible as well here. She's good as Slappy, but here the kind of script that she and the kid playing Gabe were given is insulting to the kind of acting capability I expect from these two now that I found out what they were in the future, which they were younger here, especially the girl playing Sorry. She was a lot younger here. But their Uncle Ben is played by Elias Zaru. I don't know how to say his name, but he's fantastic. He's very good for what he's playing. It's a very small role as Uncle Ben. He's not as prominently important as he is in the first and second books of the old classic series that this is adapting. But he's good. I like the actor. I think he's good. John Bell directed this episode, by the way. And John Bell has directed some of the worst Goosebumps episodes. I mean, I haven't seen Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, but he directed that episode. There's a lot of them. I think Bad Hair Day is also one. He hasn't directed some of the best ones. Don't Go to Sleep, really, really rough one. He directed that as well, even though I like it better than the book, from what I remember. I think I did. I guess. I believe. It's been a while since I read that book. It's kind of one of those books that just kind of leaves your memory as soon as you finish it, because it's not that great. Same thing with the episode. But anyway, he did the stuff that a lot of people make fun of, like JonTron makes fun of a lot of the bad episodes, and Don't Go to Sleep is one of them that he made fun of. So John Bell, he tries, and this is a good example of him actually doing mostly well with what he tried to do here. There's a couple of jump scares in this episode that really got me. I mean, there's one involving a lion seal on the tomb of Prince Karu, the mummy, or Haru, or Harich, or whatever they're saying. Every time they pronounce Karu that way. I mean, I know I'm American and I'm pronouncing it probably wrong myself, but I don't care. It sounds stupid the way they're saying it. It does. And then there's the reporter girl that comes along with the three of these folks, Uncle Ben, Sorry, and Gabe, to investigate the tomb that they've discovered. That Gabe himself fell into a hole, just kind of like in the first book. There's little elements of the first book in here. He fell into a hole, he found the tomb that had the seal on it, the lion seal, which is a fantastic jump scare, by the way. Really got to me, genuinely. But the lady that's a reporter in here, she's horrible. I mean, she is horrible. One of the worst lines I've ever heard, recorded in a film or TV show, is in this particular episode. There's a line recorded by this woman at one point, and I cannot tell to save my life if she is actually like a mix of like Egyptian or something with Latino or Latina, whatever, or Hispanic in some way, shape, or form. I can't tell what she's mixed with, but the way she's doing her accent as an Egyptian woman, it's horrible. I mean, it sounds like she's trying to speak Spanish. At one point, she says the line, and this is honestly, I can't even do it justice. I can do relatively close, but not even justice to how awful her delivery of this line is. And it's not entirely her fault. It's the script's fault and the director's fault, but it's horrible. I mean, really horrible. She is talking to someone, and she has her arms stretched out, and she's all like, "Come to me, my brother!" Like some Hispanic person. And I'm like, it's such a bad line delivery. Like, it's clearly not the right accent, you know? It's insulting to everybody involved here. It is cringy to listen to her say that. And every time, the first time I heard this when I saw this episode for the first time, that got to me so bad. I was recording a commentary of Goosebumps episodes all those years ago when I was doing that. Don't ask me to do it right now, but I was at the time, many years ago on a different YouTube channel I had, out of the many that I already have. And when I heard that, I laughed so obnoxiously loud to the point where I couldn't breathe because of how, again, the way I did it wasn't justice. The way she does it, it is one of the worst things I've ever heard in a film or TV show in my life, delivery-wise. And I don't entirely blame the actress. It was just bad. It was horrible. But she was as bad as Sari and Gabe. I mean, Gabe, the entire episode, is talking like this, man. The whole episode. And Sari is being sarcastic and rude all the time. If I was Uncle Ben, I'd slap her across the face, you know? The whole episode, between Gabe talking like this, man, and then Sari being snarky like this, and then that shit, "Come to me, my brother," you know, all that stuff blended into just you just want to punch your hand through the TV. You know, again, this is not the worst Goosebumps episode, but to me it's one of the most annoying ones. Because the book is bad. Like, the Return of the Mummy book, I loved the first one for the most part, honestly, I really did. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect, but it was mostly really good. I gave it a really positive review, but the second book, Return of the Mummy, the one this is mainly adapting, is so awful. And the book mostly wasn't like that. It was the finale of the book that was really the horrible, horrible book. The horrible portion of the book was that third act / finale, solution, conclusion, whatever. It was really bad, it was underwhelming, it was horrible. And then this is just like a complete downgrade, almost perfect adaptation to make it even more stupid because of how bad the finale is. But again, the Mummy looks great, the music is mostly really great, the set design for the pyramid looks amazing, I love it to death, it looks so good. The hieroglyphics look legitimate, it looks really good, dude. Probably, again, one of the higher budget episodes of Goosebumps. And I dig it. I love some, again, ancient Egypt, Universal Monsters type thing. This really fits that very well. The look of the Mummy is fantastic, like I said. But the twist here is awful. The big twist that kind of comes into play in the story. The kid actors are terrible. I mean, absolutely awful. And I know both of these kids can do better. So I don't blame them. I blame the directing and the scripting. It's a sloppy, sloppy mess. And it's one of the biggest reasons why in the last couple of weeks, where I've been very sleepy, very tired, struggling with work and all kinds of stuff going on in my life, writing stuff on the side for projects, I just didn't want to watch this. I read the books, the first 2 books, and then I was like, I don't think I can make it through that episode right now. And again, being exhausted and being in bad moods lately, and then trying to sit through an episode of Goosebumps you know was going to be bad, because you already saw it and it was bad. It accumulates into a lot that's hard to deal with mentally. And when you guys, a lot of you are not adults yet, but when you become an adult, like a 25, 26-year-old my age type person, you're going to realize what I'm talking about. There's a lot of times you just don't want to waste time on something you already know sucks. Even for a YouTube video, even though you're doing a review to entertain people, you don't want to do it. Because how bad something you already know is going to be is bad. It takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot of preparation mentally, especially when you're already tired and everything on the side that you're dealing with, like your 40-hour-a-week job, if not more. You don't want to do it. And it took everything in me to finally tonight sit down and watch this. I was going to do it last night, and I just could not bring myself to do it. So tonight, you got the video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is horrible for the most part. It has a lot of great stuff in here. Really, I genuinely mean that. Great stuff. Like with the setting and all that. Some of the atmosphere even works. The jump scares are really good here. Really, really good. It's just that a lot of this makes no sense. The ending is just as bad as it was in the book. The book itself is already a sloppy mess, but this is really bad. I mean, really bad. But overall, I don't really have anything else to say about this. Return of the Mummy, it is what it is. You might like it a lot more than I do. I think Don't Wake Mummy is a way better, scarier, actually, episode compared to this. It deserves a lot more credit. Really cool concept, everything. The execution was really great for the episode. Return of the Mummy, not so much. Return of the Mummy is a slap in the face, just like how the book was. Again, especially if you love the first book, and then you read that second book, Return of the Mummy, and then you get slapped in the face because it's not anywhere as good in quality, especially for the finale. That's what this feels like, and I'm kind of glad they never adapted the first book after watching this and seeing how bad this was. For the most part. Again, for the most part is the key phrase there. When it comes to Return of the Mummy, the Season 1, Episode 9 episode, if I had to rate this episode on a 5-star basis, I could not possibly give it a lower rating than a 3 out of 5 stars, but it's kind of a weak 3 out of 5 stars. That might seem a little too high after the way I've trashed it and criticized it and everything else. But there's a charm that's still here, that's in Goosebumps as a TV show, in its veins. And it works in some way. It feels like a kid's version of the Universal Monsters films, kind of updated for the 1990s. And it works in that way, in a little special type of way. Maybe it's just me. I don't know if other people feel that way. This is a high-ranked episode on IMDb. It's got like a 7.3 out of 10, which is... It makes me hurt. When I saw that, it made me hurt, really. This is not anywhere as good and recommendable the way Night of the Living Dummy 3 is. The fact that Night of the Living Dummy 2 premiered the next month in January 12th, I believe, of 2000 whatever. you know, the next episode was Night of the Living Dummy 3 or 2 after this. Can you imagine going from this to Night of the Living Dummy 2 and still being as goofy as that was too? The episode before this was Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. I can't imagine going from how goofy that was to how goofy this was. You know, it's like a consistent timeline of being almost awful. You know, I'm sorry. I know there's probably somebody out here who loves and adores this episode and probably grew up on this episode. I did not. I did not see it until I was an adult, about 4 or 5 years ago, and it does not hold up by any means. I mean, it's cheesy, it's goofy, just like most of Goosebumps TV episodes, but as an adaptation, it's almost perfect because the book was really rough and this is really rough. It has its really shining moments, some good actors in here sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes. And then there's the revelations of the little girl playing Slappy. That just makes it all roundabout. You know, it just brings my whole life to full circle, my whole channel to full circle, and just... oh, Jesus. Anyway, Return of the Mummy. What did you guys think about this episode? Put your thoughts and comments down below. Again, I know a 3 out of 5 stars might seem a little high for the way I've trashed this episode, but just trust me, it's entertaining in the worst possible way, almost like in a Sharknado type way, that you could watch this and laugh your tail off the whole time because of how rough and bad it is. I just don't know. I don't even know what to say. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'm sorry for taking so long to get this video out after reading the book like 2 weeks ago. It's just, I have not wanted to touch this, and now I have to sit through the TV book of this, which I'm hoping is better. I don't think it will, because usually these are just novelizations of the TV episodes, and they're usually pretty faithful, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'll try to get that review out soon. You know how that goes, too, with me lately. Anyway, may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble all the time the way I always do like an old man. And, goodbye.